Yolele Adina o wafe. Yo Adina Adina o. Yolele Adina o fire. Yo Adina o.
I'm not hearing you.
Yes, Renee. Renee. Okay, welcome once again. I do apologize. My mic was muted. I do apologize. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Happy Emancipation Morning. This morning, we want to thank the Chaguanas Women Youth Group drummers and also the Sankofa Cultural Organization for this morning's drum call. Thank you very much for joining us today. And before we go further with the program, let us now give thanks. Let us now have the national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago. The national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago. It is indeed our pleasure to have you all with us this morning. I want to thank and welcome all our viewers on the Trinidad and Tobago television, our Facebook and YouTube page. And as we would normally do and within our tradition, I'm now going to introduce Elder Aquino Moyo to do the libation. Welcome, Elder Aquino Moyo.
Go ahead.
Mokien Babawa, Mokien Iawa, Mokien Omowa, Mokien Ekbowa, Ekabo, peace be unto all. Welcome all distinguished guests. Welcome all fathers. Welcome all mothers. Welcome all brothers and sisters. Welcome my children. Welcome. I greet you in the name of our glorious and courageous ancestors, those who have walked tall on this earth and have made their contributions towards the development of humanity. I greet you in the name of all our ancestors who have suffered the indignities and the injustices on the African continent and yet survive to continue the struggles of self-determination. I greet you in the name of all our ancestors who have experienced the horror of the Middle Passage and the savagery of the plantation system in the Americas and the Caribbean, and the inhumane and oppressive conditions in Europe. I greet you in the name of all our ancestors who continued subsequently the struggles for human dignity and advancement in the post-emancipation era. I wish a happy, reflective, and introspective emancipation to all members of the national community, the regional community, and the international community. This morning, we commemorate the 183rd anniversary of the emancipation of our ancestors from enslavement in the English-speaking Caribbean. Let it be known that in the tradition of our ancestors, it is the cultural practice to pour libation to honor them and to summons our community. Now, when we pour libation, we keep the memories of our ancestors alive, thus energizing the ancestors, and in return, they energize us, since they are responsible for the gifts, the talents, and the accomplishments of our people. More so, with this libation, we commune with our ancestors, and we show our respect for their efforts in the past. We also show our appreciation and gratitude for their strength and courage in surviving centuries of humiliation and psychological pain, in confronting systemic, institutionalized hostilities, and indeed for beginning the process of repairing the damage done to our people's psyche. With this libation, we establish the cyclic link between those who have gone before us, those who are living, and those yet to be born. Wherever you are, could you please stand for the libation? Eshu Lekba, guardian of the crossroads, clear of the way, guide us during this activity that we are embarking upon. Just as the crossroads represents the meeting place of the human and the divine, so too may our activities during this Emancipation Morning meet favor with the divine, as we focus on advancing Pan-African solidarity towards a balanced world. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Olodumare, creator, owner of this space we occupy, allow us the use of this space with your blessings. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Obatala, the creator of dry land, grant us that the seeds which we sow on this land will bear fruits, seeds in the minds of our people, fruits in their results. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Amen-Ra, the source of all life force, who rises in the heavens, the God who created men and women, be with us and provide a protective shield throughout this morning's activity. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. We must never forget that it is our ancestors, that it is on our ancestors' shoulders and backs that we stand in this contemporary world. And as such, we invoke the spirits of just a few. Ya Asantewa, Jajak Dessalines, Bookman, Harriet Tubman, Kwame Nkrumah, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, Tubal Uriah Buzz Butler, Dr. Eric Williams, Lancelot Kibu Lane, Liz Yasu Omuwale, Kwame Ture, Baba Samsville, McCandle Dagger, Tracy Wilson. Within recent times, our community has lost three powerful personalities. We wish to salute them for their contributions and their services to their community. Ifoma Soyinka, Lutalo Masimba, Brother Resistance, and Leroy Clark. Our responsibility to those summoned is what this activity is all about. We acknowledge them here for giving us life and for being the collective consciousness and for the spirituality with which we think. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. We may be seated wherever we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elder Aquino. And especially I want to also call the name of Ifoma Soyinka, our dear brother who left us before emancipation this year. And we pray that his spirit will be with us today as we enjoy the Emancipation Day celebration of 2021. This morning, I would like to welcome with us the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, Minister of National Security, who is here to represent and on behalf of the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. We welcome him and thank you. We are also expecting His Worship Joel Martinez. I'm not sure if he has joined us as yet, but we also welcome him. But what I am going to do now before we move further is to read the Emancipation Day message from the Emancipation Support Committee of Trinidad and Tobago. During these challenging moments of the nation, the Emancipation Support Committee of Trinidad and Tobago invites all citizens as we mark the commemoration of emancipation to reflect on the strength, determination, and resilience of our forefathers and mothers of this nation and region who brought the most pernicious system devised by mankind, chattel slavery, to an end for all peoples. This year, as we commemorate the 183rd anniversary of the emancipation of Africans in the British colonies from chattel slavery, we also commemorate the 7th year of the United Nations Decade for People of African Descent and the installation of the monument Arise, which marks the heritage site of the Proclamation of Emancipation on August 1st, 1834, right here in downtown Port of Spain. We are drawn to consider this process of emancipation, a process that requires self-repair, reparatory justice, and the decolonization of the colonial legacy. Self-repair demands the restoration of the selfhood of Africans through knowledge of our true history, our culture, in particular, that of the period before enslavement, and most importantly, the re-establishment of our economic well-being. We must be made whole as a people once more. We must heal physically, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. The Kunta Kintes among us have fought and continue to fight on behalf of those who have not been as strong. We call on the leaders of our country to recognize that they too have a responsibility to aid and not inhibit the process of emancipation. The current school's curricula, the content of textbooks, and the cultural insensitivity of our educators must be reviewed and reconstructed to eliminate the subtle and even sometimes overt discrimination and racism that has become acceptable and which do not assist, but rather impede the full liberation and empowerment of our African children. We must all join this fight for reparations. Reparatory justice is due to all Africans. And whereas we appreciate and compliment the work of the CARICOM Reparations Commission in this regard, the wheels are turning extremely slow, especially at the national level. Reparations is a must, and relevant European governments must be held accountable and made to pay for the hundreds of years of unpaid labor, cruelty, and dehumanization of Africans. The colonization of the colonial legacy forms a critical part of this emancipation process. As long as we continue to live in a society with a built heritage reminiscent of our colonial masters and governance, legislation, and government systems reflective of, sorry, just a little technical difficulty, sorry. Yes. As long as we continue to live in a society with a built heritage reminiscent of our colonial masters, with legislation and governance systems reflective of our colonial past, with attitudes to law and order, reminding us of hunting down of the enslaved persons on behalf of the enslaver, we shall not be free. Our colonial masters built a society with the images, structures, and the legislation that they believed were required for their empowerment and sustainability. We must begin to build a society that enriches the spirit and minds of those of us who live here now. Columbus must go. Oxford Street must go and be renamed Kwame Ture Street. The authority required for both is the same as that facilitated the naming of Charlotte Street, Chinatown. The colonization of our society must be a major component of the plans for the revitalization of the city of Port of Spain and eventually all the cities of Trinidad and Tobago. We at the ESCTT are pleased to see the installation of the Emancipation Monument arise, following our call for it. And we are currently working on a monument in tribute to the ancestors of the Yoruba village for placement at the Yoruba Village Square. We thank the Port of Spain City Corporation. We thank the Port of Spain East Development Company and the national government of Trinidad and Tobago for their contribution to these efforts, and we look forward to continued collaboration. Let us, on this Emancipation Day, re-energize, recommit, refocus, rebuild our strength, courage, and determination, for the struggle continues. So with that, we are going to move to the next item on our agenda, and I am going to invite Dr. Claudius Fergus, the Director of Education and Research of the Emancipation Support Committee, to give us an address on the monument. Arise.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Happy Emancipation Day. As you heard, I want to share some details about the new Emancipation Monument, Arise. In addressing the nation on Emancipation Morning 2019, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley gave a commitment that government would finance an Emancipation Monument, which was long advocated by the Emancipation Support Committee. Dismissing potential bureaucratic delay, Dr. Rowley insisted he wanted to see that monument on Emancipation Morning 2020. In wasting no time, the Emancipation Support Committee commissioned sculptor Mr. Ken Critchlow to come up with an appropriate design for the monument, which the ESC named Arise. One simple but very powerful word. Critchlow then co-opted Ms. Gillian Bishop, who led a multi-talented team to create the monument, including a plaque which gives the historical context for the monument. Last Emancipation, the Prime Minister triumphantly officiated the unveiling of the monument at the heritage site of the proclamation of the Emancipation Act, which of course we all know now is occupied by the Treasury building. But Arise was not yet mounted on its plinth. Early this morning, a team of the ESC led by Babalawo, I call him, Babalawo, Elder Aquino Moyo, did the first libation at the base of the monument, which is on the southern side of the Treasury building. Sadly, prior to Arise, Trinidad and Tobago was the only country in the English-speaking Caribbean that had failed to erect a monument in recognition of the hundreds of years of struggle for freedom from plantation slavery. the most savage, degrading, and dehumanizing system ever devised by one group to oppress another. The monument bears a multiplicity of artistic motives. You need to go and look at it. These include a pair of hands with broken chains, signifying the ending of chattel slavery. The waves signify the Atlantic Ocean, across which 5 million Africans were trafficked into the Caribbean and enslaved. The flat plate upon which the rest of the monument sits signify the sugar plantations that killed most of them. The raised spears signify their relentless struggle for freedom against much more sophisticated weaponry. The central figure is the bronze head, signifying African majesty, beauty, and confidence in their humanity and their destiny. The many cultural symbols on the monument reflect Africa's philosophical artistry and ingenuity, ancient and modern, from the sacred Ankh of Kemet to a small selection from the many sacred Adinkra signs of the Akan people of modern-day Ghana. Adinkra signs are on the internet, so parents, could you encourage your children to search for them, practice drawing them, and learn their meanings? Tobago and Trinidad ended slavery as two separate colonies. In 2007, Chief Secretary Orville London committed to transforming Colon Bay into an emancipation park and erecting a monument at the site of the old slave market in Scarborough. I end by challenging the THA incumbents to keep this commitment so that Tobago will not remain the only former colony in the British Caribbean without a monument to emancipation, which many eminent scholars worldwide acknowledge was the greatest watershed in modern history. Happy emancipation to all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fergus. Just one little correction. Unfortunately, we were not able to get our elder Brother Aquino Moyo due to the curfew to get down to Port of Spain and back in order to be in time for the show. So we did have Avery Amon who led us with the libation this morning at the monument, Emancipation Monument, Arise. Yes? So we move on to some music. We want to hear the voices, we want to hear the chanting voices and the drums of this morning, the pleasure and joy to the ears of our ancestors. So we're now going to have a recording of the beautiful group of young people, Egbe Omo Oni Eshishe. They are going to play for us and chant.
Masakayo Koko Adia Masakei Masakayo Yemi Ogumo 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 Mesaba 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 baila de cone y anda traí baila de cone baila de cone baila de cone que viene traí baila de cone baila de cone baila de cone y anda traí baila de cone.
Okay, welcome. The beautiful sounds and of the drum and the chants of the young people, Egbe Omo Oni Ishashe. You know, our culture is in good hands because so much of the drumming, the dancing, you know, the chanting and so on is being carried out by our young people. Thank you very much. So before we move on to our presentation by Brother Kafra Kambon, the Director of Pan-African Affairs and Regional Affairs of the Emancipation Support Committee, we just want to share with you a very short, less than a minute, video of the monument, Arise. For those of you who have not yet seen it, this is what it looks like. It is located in front of the Treasury Building on Independence Square in Port-au-Spain. We want to thank the artist, Gillian Bishop. We want to thank Ken for working with us, you know, as Dr. Fergus would have indicated. And we really, really want to thank the government of Trinidad and Tobago for ensuring that the monument, you know, what the funds was allocated in order for us to have this monument. And we want to continue to transform the city of Port-au-Spain to reflect the history of all of us who live here. So we move on the program, and we have not seen yet His Worship Joel Martinez, the Mayor of Port-au-Spain. So we will move on to inviting Dr. Kafra Kambon, Director of Pan-African and Regional Affairs of the Emancipation Support Committee. And Kafra is going to speak to us on the theme, Advancing Pan-African Solidarity Towards a Balanced World. Welcome, Kafra.
Thank you, Sister Zakia, and happy emancipation greetings to all of our people who are today joining us in this wonderful celebration once more. I mean, we all feel a bit of sadness that it has to be virtual, but that is the world in which we live, and I would say, let us all be diligent in following the cautions of the time, which are mandated by the nature of the virus, which is affecting our society and the entire globe. So I urge you to please follow the restrictions so we could be alive to have many more Emancipation Days. Today, I stand symbolically, reverentially, in the company of warriors of the 20th century. Among them, and there are many, many, and many, many more, but I have to name Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela, and Rosa Parks. I want to give thanks to all of them and the many others, some of them whose names we have never known and we may never know, but who all fought for us and who are responsible for our freedom from the worst scourge known to mankind, chattel slavery. It is what we celebrate in Trinidad and Tobago every 1st of August. My most precious thanks, however, is for those on whose shoulders they stood, those who cleared the way for them, in particular, those whose descendants plight we now ignore. Because sadly, painfully for me, painfully for those who are aware of history, who have a sense of justice, the fact is that we now ignore the plight of our brothers and sisters in Haiti. And that is tragic. And if there's justice in the universe, I don't think that we as Africans will see our way until we recognize what we owe to our Haitian brothers and sisters and recognize that what they suffer today, they suffer because they are still paying the price for the emancipation that we can meet here every year and celebrate. We paid a price too, but what we did is nothing compared to what they did to break the backs of the enslavement that all our forefathers suffered. So we betray ourselves when we treat Haitians the way that we do. So let us remember our Haitian brothers and sisters at this time. Let us stop trading with the Dominican Republic. You remember a few years ago, the Dominican Republic expelled black-skinned people en masse to Haiti, saying they were expelling Haitians. Now, many of them were, in fact, Haitians who had been working hard in the Dominican Republic. But the qualification for expulsion was not to determine whether or not you were Haitian, but whether or not your skin was black. And it bothers me that without any apology, we seem to have forgiven them, those in the Dominican Republic who were responsible for that mass expulsion. And mass expulsion, quite apart from who it is, mass expulsion is a crime against humanity. And if that had been done against any people except us, those guilty would have had to pay a price. And this is one of the things that should give us pause and make us begin to reflect on what it is that disturbs our solidarity as a global people. This whole annual emancipation commemoration, the effort we put into it annually, is part of what we see as an essential process of rebuilding our sense of self as a people. We are nationals of Trinidad and Tobago. There are other Africans who are nationals, say, of the United States or Britain or Grenada or Barbados. But what unites us all is who we are historically, the roots from which we came, the roots that still live within us and really define us for who we are. And this is the importance of the celebration of those who freed us from the worst scourge ever imposed on mankind, chattel slavery. No other people in the world had been exposed to legal definition of chattel, which means property, right? Movable property. So we were reduced from humanity, from belonging to humanity, to belonging to white masters. And we were considered part of their chattel. In fact, in the registers of the slave plantations, and I remember reading just a few years ago, where in the United States, some people looking for their roots went to the plantation of the enslaved, where their foreparents had been enslaved. And going through the register on the plantation, they saw the names, not the real names of their foreparents, but the names given to them by those who held themselves as masters over them and saw their names registered in the same listing with those of the cattle. So that is what our people had been reduced to. Now, I say this again because I must say the pain that I feel with our whole normalization of relations with the Dominican Republic. I think this was an opportunity for us to take a stand for ourselves as an African people. Between 2015 and 2018, they expelled 70 to 80,000 of our people. But we move on from them. I begin with this because we can celebrate today because of the Haitians, who, in the words of David Rudder, made us know that they still pay the price for what they did. So what we talk about at the beginning is just part of the agony they still bear for what they did for us. So on this Emancipation Day, as on every Emancipation Day, I want all of us to remember them in our thoughts. We are free today because they had to overcome odds that seemed insurmountable in their time. That's the military odds. Among the odds that we have to overcome today, the greatest are the psychological odds. Those hurdles that were military that the Haitians faced with courage and overcame, we have to overcome odds that are just as great, perhaps even greater, because this is not an army with guns. It is an army with information. The poison that kills us is the poison that is put into our minds about who we are, because others have taken upon themselves what they consider the right to define who we are. And they continue to use the powerful means at their disposal to make us define ourselves in the way that they define us. And it is buried in our education system. It is buried in our media. It is buried in so much that we are exposed to from day to day. Just think of the scenario where finally, and I am proud to be part of the organization responsible for it, there's a monument to those who struggled and died for us in the heart of the city of Port of Spain. A city that in its built environment worships those who are responsible for our enslavement. So there are those in authority even today, even despite what has taken place all around the world with the destruction of monuments. Even whites are pulling down the monuments in their countries of those of their foreparents whom they felt went beyond any standards of humanity in bringing oppression to others in the world. And they are breaking those statues down. And we in Trinidad and Tobago, right in the heart of our city, are still preserving Columbus. But now we have a monument of a different type. Not on the same scale as Columbus, but in terms of our mindsets, in terms of meaning to us, in terms of who we are as a people, it is larger than any monument that you have in the city today. We must respect it. We must preserve it. So, brothers and sisters, once more, a happy Emancipation. Enjoy the rest of the day. COVID is here with us. It has prevented us from gathering physically, but we have overcome by gathering virtually. And we will continue in the Emancipation Support Committee of Trinidad and Tobago. We will continue to fight the fight for emancipation of the minds of our people. Brothers and sisters, happy emancipation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kafra. And we move on to hear from another of our elders, Director Emeritus of the Emancipation Support Committee, our dear sister, our dear elder, our dear mother, N2 Pearl, Dr. N2 Pearl Springer.
And as I rock you gently, I will sing. I will sing to you of skies dawning to the bright light of hope. I will lull your slumber, not to the hollow sounding thuds of lash on raw black flesh, not to the clank of chains, but to a roar from throats sounding freedom. Sound freedom into the ears of generations. Pile edifices to deeper freedom, truer freedom. Sound freedom won by Ogun's reddened machetes. Sound freedom won in open war, in subterfuge. And I will soothe your sleep with tales of Toussaint, Dessalines, Cecil Fatman, to Haiti, the mother of our freedom, Kofi, Kodjo. I will show you your ancestors, labeled warrior, never victim. I will teach you a history of resistance. Suck from my breasts the will to fight, the strength to hope. Suck from my breasts, my love. It is a season to bind in love. It is a season to sow seed, plant fruit, spawn nations. I will sing to you of freedom.
Thank you, dear sister. What a beautiful poem. And you know, what is the beauty about the artists is that they find the words to say what we feel, what we experience, you know, deep within the bowels of our souls and spirits, you know. Thank you so much, my dear sister, N2. So we are going to move along now. The Honorable Minister Randall Mitchell, the Minister of Tourism, Culture and the Arts, was not able to join us live this morning, but he did ensure that we receive a message on behalf of the ministry, the new light ministry for the Emancipation Support Committee. So we now have a recorded message from Minister Randall Mitchell.
It is my honor to address you on behalf of the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts on the celebration of Emancipation Day 2021. The theme of this year's celebration proclaims YEDAASE-Praise to our ancestors, and it is an ode to those who went before and paved the way for the upliftment of people of African descent. This virtual event commemorates the 183rd anniversary of the emancipation of Africans from centuries of enslavement and the 7th year of the declaration by the United Nations of the International Decade for People of African Descent. In addition, this celebration holds great significance as Trinidad and Tobago is the first country in the world to declare August 1st, the date commemorating the emancipation of slaves, as a national public holiday. This year's emancipation celebration is particularly momentous as it completes what was started in 2020. Last year saw the unveiling of the monument commemorating the reading of the Emancipation Proclamation by Sir George Fitzgerald Hill on August 1st, 1834, at the then Government House, now the site of the Treasury Building. This year, the monument has finally been installed and is permanently in its rightful place to forever right a historical wrong. For this artistic interpretation of the triumph over enslavement, I would like to thank the team of artisans led by Ms. Gillian Bishop and Mr. Kenwin Critchlow. It is my sincere hope that on August 1st, 2022, we can once again come together as in the past to pay homage to our African ancestors and experience that explosion of color and symbolism that has made this festival a must-attend event on the Trinidad and Tobago Festivals calendar. On that day, we will feel the rhythm of the drums, walk shoulder to shoulder with friends and family, and be amazed by the vibrancy of our African heritage. Then we will come together and truly say, YEDAASE, thank you to our ancestors. In closing, I thank Ms. Zakia Uzuma Wadada, Executive Chair of the Emancipation Support Committee, and the rest of the executive for its perseverance in keeping African traditions alive, and urge you to keep the fire of emancipation celebrations burning. Let not our virtual environment contain you, but let it be a way to take this unique festival to the world. Do have a happy Emancipation Day.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, and we look forward to a close collaboration with the ministry as we work together to fulfill some of the same objectives which you have uttered, and of course, you know, the objectives of the Emancipation Support Committee of Trinidad and Tobago. We thank you and we move along, and what we are going to have some entertainment next, and I invite you to enjoy this beautiful dance from the Sour South Cultural Organization, another group of amazing and beautiful young people. Thank you very much. And at least you got a little taste there of the Oberwale village. You know, normally all now we would have been in the village full of music and dancing and celebration. You know, as we walk proud and you know, as Africans in our society, remembering our ancestors and their hard work and making a joyful noise unto them. Thank you very much, Sawa South, and thank you very much to all those who are there and assisting these young people. We want to move on now to the presentation by the Minister of National Security, the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, who has been asked to represent the Prime Minister, who was not able to be here. So we want to welcome the Honorable Minister. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Sister Zakia, for your kind introduction. And let me, in his absence, recognize Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Let me as well recognize my parliamentary and cabinet colleague, Minister Randall Mitchell, in his capacity as Minister of Tourism, Culture and the Arts, His Worship the Mayor of the City of Port of Spain, you again, Sister Zakia Ozuma Wadada, in your capacity as Executive Chairperson of the Emancipation Support Committee, and in your capacity as Master of Ceremonies here today, so beautifully executed, other members of your executive, members in general, in particular, Dr. Claudius Fergus, who addressed us a moment ago, Elder Kafra Cambon, past chair, and who also addressed us, Elder Intu Springer, who illuminated our spirits with that wonderful presentation, and as a long-standing participant in the struggle of our people, Elder Aquino Moyo, who poured libations and took us through our spiritual paces in preparation for this celebration. The spirits of all of our ancestors, the entertainers this morning, cultural groups who we just saw, brothers and sisters, celebrants of Emancipation 2021, one and all. We must all be and continuously be thankful. We must give thanks. We are here as Black survivors. We are here as survivors of enslavement, survivors of even more recently COVID-19 and its variants. I would like to say in quick response to some of your submissions, Sister Zakia, and some of Elder Kafra Cambon, that Dr. Rowley, as leader of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, my cabinet colleagues, and not the least yours truly, we are of listening posture. We have demonstrated that. The launch of the Arise Monument, permanently fixed, is testimony to the fact that we would listen and we would hear your calls. The question of Oxford Street being possibly renamed Kwame Ture Boulevard or Street is a matter that we are prepared to and would listen to. The Dominican Republic relation, that is a matter that the Emancipation Support Committee, Elder Kafra Cambon and others should continuously collaborate with the government of Trinidad and Tobago to having your voice be heard in that regard. The question of Haiti. Haiti was not always a member of CARICOM. More recently, it became a member. And I was present recently at a CARICOM meeting when Haiti occupied a whole chunk of the time of the leaders of this region in CARICOM, until, of course, the following day, the very sad event that took place there, leading to the assassination of its president. So the government of Trinidad and Tobago is very open to listening, and as you can see, to reacting to the very legitimate and sensible calls of the people of African descent in Trinidad and Tobago, and all the people of Trinidad and Tobago for that matter. When President Robinson died, I'm informed that the the Oni of Ife requested that he read in Nigeria. That did not happen, but the fact of the request told us that there's a strong connection and a strong bond between our people contemporarily and the continent from which we of African descent has come. When Dr. Rowley went to Ghana a couple of years ago, he was inducted into the Brotherhood, and we probably don't understand the implications of it, but he was so inducted. He was regaled in his kente cloth, and he was made to address the people of Ghana, cementing a long-standing relationship between Trinidad and Tobago and Ghana and Africa more generally. We have to give thanks even for that connection after all of these many years since enslavement began and certainly since emancipation. We recognize and celebrate emancipation in Trinidad and Tobago. This is our 183rd celebration of emancipation, and we are very proud that George Michael Chambers, former Prime Minister in 1985, declared this a public holiday. It resonated through CARICOM. Other countries in the region have since so done, and other countries around the world are recognizing Emancipation Day for the people who form part of their societies, the people of African descent. We celebrate all of our ancestors, Nelson Mandela and the many others, some of whom Elder Moyo named in his libation this morning. We celebrate our ancestors of and from Trinidad and Tobago, some of whom were mentioned by both Elder Moyo and Elder Cambon in their presentations here today. The theme of your presentation, YEDAASE, is of course a Twi word, Twi being the largest element of the Akan tribe of Ghana or people of Ghana, and the word YEDAASE simply means thanks, a most appropriate theme because as Elder Moyo demonstrated, it is on those ancestors on whose backs and whose spirits today we survive and we stand with great pride. We understand the beauty, we understand the spirituality, we understand the strength, and we are not ashamed, we are proud, and we stand in that regard. And we give thanks that we could very well use the word YEDAASE as a reason for giving thanks. The struggle for emancipation started, as I see it, from the very first day, 450 plus years ago, when the first of our brothers and sisters from the continent was captured, kidnapped, and enslaved. The resistance, as you described it, Sister Uzoma Wadada, Sister Zakia, the resistance started in our spirits and in our actions through revolutions and resistance permeated through the years. And as Samora Marshall tells us, the struggle to this day continues. The death, the hopelessness, the resistance, as I said, the rebellion, the spirituality in the fight back, the music, the culture, some of which we saw today, are all elements of the struggle for emancipation and all reasons for us to give very, very deep and sincere thanks. We produced men of great intellect, men and women. Sylvester, George Padmore, Sylvester Williams, who pioneered the Pan-African concept and the Pan-African movement, who inspired the Ghanaian Kwame Nkrumah at that time and inspires Ghana to this very day. Greats like Imhotep in medicine, the first heart surgery, Daniel Williams, Banika, who invented the block, the pyramids of Egypt, which still mystify people around the world today, the propeller, Henry Jones, air condition, and so the story goes. I have just quoted some facts that I got from a calypso written by Dr. Hollis Liverpool Chalk Dust. So we celebrate our music, we celebrate our culture, we celebrate calypso, the greatest music in my view in the world. We celebrate this morning, whether it is in science, in agriculture, irrigation was propagated by African people across Africa well before the rest of the world. George Washington Carver in the United States revolutionized agricultural techniques. In dance, Michael Jackson, James Brown, Sammy Davis Jr., these great Africans. In music, the Mighty Sparrow, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Chalk Dust, as I said, the Steel Band, born and bred here in Trinidad and Tobago from the spirit of the emancipating African, all part of the resistance. We have great reason to celebrate. So as we celebrate today, celebrate ourselves, celebrate our history, celebrate our spirituality, celebrate our survival on this beautiful emancipation celebration morning. We do so recognizing the great beauty and the great history and the great pride that is Africa. We do so in the context of the launch of this monument in testimony to this greatness and this emancipation process in the fixture that is now called Arise. I was present last year when Dr. Rowley installed a plaque against the Treasury building, and today the actual monument is now in place as a testimony to our continuing struggle for freedom. Long live Mother Africa, long live Trinidad and Tobago, and long live the spirits of our ancestors who will continue to infuse us with the energy, with the quest for freedom and emancipation in all of its forms and manifestations. I was particularly honored to be asked by our Prime Minister to address you today. I feel a sense of pride at having done so. And on his behalf, and on behalf of all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we pray that the Emancipation Support Committee continues to be the leader of this important element in the life and in the existence of African people in Trinidad and Tobago for all of the obvious benefits that it brings to all of Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of National Security. We extend our thanks to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. We also want to thank the Honorable Minister of Tourism, Culture and the Arts for his Emancipation Day message. We want to thank His Worship the Mayor. He did try to enter the room, but it was we have been having some difficulty letting him in, and of course we are live on TTT and therefore we are out of time. So we also want to thank Trinidad and Tobago Television this morning for facilitating the live stream and ensuring that the majority of our population are able to share these special moments with us. I want to thank Elder Aquino Moyo, Elder Kafra Campbell, and Elder Entupul Springer, the elders of our organization, and pray that you continue to be blessed with health and strength, as because there is so much work left for you to do. Thank you for being with us. I want to thank our staff and their hard work. And I also want to end by saying, YEDAASE, praise to our ancestors, praise to our ancestors, praise to our ancestors. We thank them for their struggles, and it's upon their shoulders that we stand. And we would now end again with the beautiful, energetic rhythm of the drums played by Sawa Cultural Organization. Thank you for joining us. all of the viewers, we thank you. Happy Emancipation Day. Wonderful, beautiful. And I want you to stay logged on to the Emancipation Support Committee Facebook page. At 10 o'clock, we will be having our People to People Forum. Please join in and experience what happened in that amazing event, which took place on the 29th. And we are now sharing the event and the discussions with you. Then following that, we would be having images of our street processions of days past, beautiful images sent to us by the members of our communities, so you can enjoy your emancipation visually. We will also at 8:30 tonight, at 8 tonight, we will be having our jazz and pan. We do apologize for the youth concert last night, but we are bringing it to you tomorrow night at 7:30. And tomorrow morning at 10, we would remember our brother Lutalo Masimba, who we all fondly know as Brother Resistance. We would have a ceremony at this time, during his time, remembering him. So we thank you for joining us today. Much love and blessings to all of you. Stay safe, obey all the regulations, and continue to enjoy your day. Let's celebrate.